75. Reacher crawled south through the grass, looking for Neagly in the dark. He made it through 50 fast yards and found a corpse instead. He blundered right into it, hands and then knees. It was a man, cooling fast. Blue suit, white shirt. Broken neck. Neagly? He whispered. Here, she whispered back. She was 20 feet away, lying on her side, propped up on one elbow. You okay? He asked. Feeling good. Was there another one? Behind you, she said. To your right. Reacher turned. Same kind of guy, same kind of suit, same kind of shirt. Same kind of injury. Any problems? He asked. Easy, she said. And quieter than you. I heard that headbutt all the way over here. They bumped fists in the dark, the old ritual, about as much physical contact as she liked to permit. La Maison thinks we're on the outside looking in, Reacher said. He's trying to scam us with a deal. If we surrender, they'll lock us all up for a week and then let us go when the heat dies down. Like we'd believe that. One of my guys had Dave's knuckle duster. That's not a good sign. They're okay so far. I asked for a proof of life. Personal questions. Dixon says she was with the 53rd MP and O'Donnell says he was with the 131 Street. That's bullshit. There was no 53rd MP. And Dave was posted to the 110th straight out of officer candidate school. They're talking to us, Reacher said. 53 is a prime number. Carla knew I'd pick up on that. So? 5 and 3 make 8. She's telling us there are 8 hostiles. 4 left, then. Lennox, Parker, and La Maison. Plus 1. Who's the 4th? That's Dave's message. He's a words guy. 131. 13th letter of the alphabet, first letter of the alphabet. M and A, Neagly said. Morny, Reacher said. Curtis Morny is here. Excellent, Neagly said. Saves hunting him down later. They bumped fists again. Then cell phones started to ring. Loud and piercing and insistent. 2 of them, different tones, unsynchronized. 1 each in the dead guy's pockets. Reacher had no doubt at all the same T. Hing was happening 50 yards away. 2 more dead guys, 2 more pockets, 2 more ringing phones. A conference call. La Maison was touching base with his foot patrol. Something unpredictable. The phones rang 6 times each and stopped. Silence came back. What would you do now? Reacher asked. If you were La Maison. Neagly said, I'd get guys in those Chryslers and turn the headlights on bright and fix myself a little motor patrol. I'd run us down in less than a minute. Reacher nodded. Against a man on foot, the lot felt big. Against a car, it would feel small. Against more than one car, it would feel tiny. In the dark, it felt safe. With xenon beams blazing away, it would feel like a goldfish bowl. He pictured cars bouncing over the rough ground, pictured himself trapped in their lights, darting left, darting right, shading his eyes, 1 car chasing, 2 cars converging. He glanced at the fence. Correct, Neagly said. The fence keeps us in just as well as it kept us out. We're 2 balls on a pool table and someone's about to turn on the lights and pick up a cue. What are they going to do if they don't find us? How are they not going to find us? Suppose. Neagly shrugged and said, they're going to assume we got out somehow. And then? They're going to panic. How? They're going to kill Carla and Dave and hunker down. Reacher nodded. That's my guess, too, he said. He got up and ran. Neagly followed. 76. Reacher ran straight for the helicopter. It was 60 yards away, large and white and luminous in the city's nighttime glow. Neagly jogged at his side, patiently. Reacher was no kind of a sprinter. He was slow and heavy. And he had stuff bouncing around in his pockets. Any college athlete would have done the 60 yards in 6 or 7 seconds. Neagly would have done it in 8. Reacher took closer to 15. But he got there in the end. He got there just as the main building's door burst open and light and men spilled out. He dodged left and kept the chopper between him and them. Neagly crowded in at his elbow. 3 guys were heading for the parking lot, fast and urgent. Parker and Lennox. And La Maison. They were all hurrying. For every yard they covered, Reacher and Neagly moved a corresponding inch around the bell, clockwise, touching its belly lightly with their fingertips, using its bulk as a shield. It was cold and dewed over with night mist, like a car parked on the street. It felt slimy. It smelled of oil and kerosene. 30 yards away 3 Chryslers started up. 3 V8 engines, suddenly loud in the stillness. 3 transmissions slammed into gear. 3 pairs of headlights flicked on. They were unbelievably bright in the darkness. They were crisp, focused, hard-edged, and super white. Then they got worse. One by one they switched to high beam. New lenses lit up. Huge cones of dazzling light swayed and bounced as the cars began to move. Reacher and Neagley slid around the Bell's long pointed nose and hugged the other flank. The cars separated like a shell burst and accelerated and headed off in random changing directions. Within 10 seconds they had found all 4 dead guys. The cars slew to a stop at the 2 sites 50 yards apart. 1 car where Neagley had been, 2 where Reacher had been. Their lights went still and threw long grotesque quadruple shadows off the 4 humped shapes. 3 distant figures ran around, flashing instantly from extreme brightness into total darkness as they moved through the beams. "We can't stay here," Neagley said. "They're going to come back this way and light us up like we're on stage at the Hollywood Bowl. How long have we got?" "They're going to check the fence pretty thoroughly. 4 minutes, maybe." "Start counting," Reacher said. He pushed off the helicopter's flank and ran for the main building. 40 yards, 10 seconds. The door had been left ajar. Lights had been left on. Reacher paused. Then he walked straight in, very quietly, with his hand on his Glock in his pocket. Saw nobody inside. The place seemed to be deserted. There were small walled-off offices on the right and a big open-plan work area on the left, behind a floor-to-ceiling plate glass screen. The work area had long laboratory benches and bright lights and complex extraction ducts on the ceiling to control dust and a grounded metal grid on the floor to control static electricity. A sliding door in the screen was open. The air coming out smelled of warm silicon boards. Like a brand new TV. The offices on the right were little more than 8 by 8 cubicles with head-high walls and doors. One was labeled Edward Dean, the development engineer. Now the quality control guy. The next door was labeled Margaret Berenson, the Dragon Lady. A remote facility, Reacher guessed, for when she had to deal with human resources issues without dragging assembly personnel all the way south to the glass cube in East La. The next door was Tony Swan's. Same principle. 2 centers, 2 offices. The next door was Alan Lamazon's. It was standing open. Reacher took a breath. Took his Glock out of his pocket. Stepped into the doorway. Stood still. Saw an 8 by 8 cube, desk, chair, fabric walls, phones, file cabinets, stacks of papers, memos. Nothing unusual or out of place. Except for Curtis Morney behind the desk. And a suitcase standing against a wall. Neagley stepped into the room. 60 seconds gone, she said. Morney just sat there at the desk, immobile. Some kind of blank resignation on his face, like a man with a bad diagnosis waiting for a second opinion he knows will be no better. His hands were empty. They were curled together on the desktop like mating crabs. Lamazon was my partner, he said, like an excuse. Reacher nodded. Loyalty, he said. It's a bitch, ain't it? The suitcase was a dark grey hardshell Samsonite, set neatly against the wall beside the end of the desk. Not the biggest thing Reacher had ever seen. Nothing like the giants some people wrestle through the airport. But it wasn't small, either. It wasn't a carry-on. It had plastic stick-on initials in shallow recesses next to the latches. The initials said, AM. 70 seconds gone, Neagley said. Morney asked, what are you going to do? With you? Reacher asked. Nothing yet. Relax. Neagley aimed her gun at Morney's face and Reacher stepped up beside the desk and knelt down and laid the suitcase flat on the carpet. Tried the latches. They were locked. He put his Glock on the floor and jammed the tips of his index fingers under the tips of the latches and braced his thumbs and bunched his shoulders and heaved. Reacher, against 2 thin pressed metal tongues. No contest. The locks broke instantly. He lifted the lid. 80 seconds gone, Neagley said. Payday, Reacher said. The case was full of fancy engraved paper certificates and letters from foreign banks and small suede drawstring bags that felt heavy in his hand. $65 million, Neagley said, over his shoulder. At a guess, Reacher said. 90 seconds gone, Neagley said. Reacher turned his head and looked at Morny and asked, "How much of this is yours?" "Some of it," Morny said. "Not much, I guess." Reacher made neat creases and folded the paperwork and handed it to Neagley. He followed it with the drawstring bags. Neagley slid everything into her pockets. Reacher left the suitcase where it was, flat on the floor, empty, the lid up like a clam. He picked up his gun and stood and turned back to Morny. "Wrong," he said. "None of it is yours." 2 minutes gone, Neagley said. "Your friends are here," Morny said. "I know," Reacher said. "Lamaison was my partner. You told me that already." "I'm just saying." "So do they know you here?" "I've been here before," Morny said. "Many times." "Pick up the phone. Or I'll shoot you in the head." "You will anyway." "I should," Reacher said. "You gave up 6 of my friends." Morny nodded. "I knew how this would end," he said. "When we didn't get you at the hospital." "LA traffic," Reacher said. "It can bite you in the ass." 2 minutes 15, Neagley said. Morny asked, "Are we making a deal here?" "Pick up the phone." "And what?" "Tell the gate guard to open up exactly 1 minute from now." Morny hesitated. Reacher put the Glock's muzzle against Morny's temple. Morny picked up the phone. Dialed. Reacher listened hard and heard ringtones from the earpiece and the Chryslers idling 100 yards away on the open ground and a muted bell 40 yards away in the guard shack. The call was answered. Morny said, "This is Morny. Open the gate 1 minute from now." Then he hung up. Reacher turned to Neagley. "Am I your CO?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "You are?" "Then listen up," he said. "When the gate opens we head for our cars and we get out of here as fast as we possibly can." "And then?" she asked. "We come back later." "In time?" Reacher nodded. "We'll make it in time if we're fast right now. They're already in their cars. So we have to really go for it. You're a lot faster than me, so'll be behind you. But don't wait for me. Don't even look back. We can't afford to lose a yard, either one of us." "Understood," she said. 3 minutes gone. Reacher grabbed Morny's collar and hauled him to his feet. Dragged him out from behind the desk, out of the office, down the hallway, into the open area. Over to the main doorway. And then a yard outside, into the night. The smell of wet ash was strong. The 3 Chryslers were moving again in the distance. They were turning tight circles on the open ground and their headlights were sweeping random patterns against the fence like searchlights in a prison movie. "Wait for the starting gun," Reacher said to Neagley. He watched the gate. Saw the guard move in his booth, saw the concertina wire sway, heard the tortured screech of wheels on a metal rail. Saw the gate start to move. He put the Glock to Morny's temple and pulled the trigger. Morny's skull exploded and Neagley and Reacher took off at full speed, like sprinters out of their blocks. Neagley was ahead after half a step. Reacher stopped dead and watched her go. She flew through the pool of light from the guard hut and dodged like a running back around the end of the moving gate. She raced out to the street. Then she was lost to sight. Reacher turned and ran in the opposite direction. 15 seconds later he was back where he had started, behind the bell's long nose.